Hello, welcome back to another video here for America 250. I'm super pumped for this series to come out. This video I believe is coming out like in a month's time. It's May 25th today. So today we're going to be going over who is on the American currency, what did they do, do they deserve to be on American currency? I'm probably not going to answer that last question because it's probably going to be full of opinions. But here is a lot of American money. I think my dollar bills stop at 20, so I'm gonna shut off my camera when I get there. So let's open this up. So first of all, if I can find one here, I probably have the least of this actually, which might be surprising. The pennies. I understand that I'm pretty sure that they won't be making any more pennies. I know here in Canada they stopped making pennies. This is kind of a dirty penny. I don't really have any clean pennies. Abraham Lincoln was, I guess I could say was, on the United States penny before it got discontinued. So I mean, it looks the coolest one because it's a different color. But yeah, unfortunately, they will not be making any more pennies. I'm trying to find the next biggest one, so I'm going to pause before I take too long. Alright, next up is the nickel. So on the nickel is Thomas Jefferson, yet another president. So I'm just going to show you these currencies, right? The penny, I forgot to mention, penny is 1 cent or was 1 cent, nickel is 5 cents. And then I'll go over who actually are these people later on. So that was Thomas Jefferson. He was the third president of the United States. And Franklin Roosevelt, another president, a more recent president. There's a lot of people alive today that were born before he even started serving as president, because he was only like 90 years ago, which, yeah, is obviously a long time ago. But there's 100 people, at least, born over 100 years ago, right? So Franklin Roosevelt is on the dime. And there is absolutely 0 people still alive who were born at the same time as the man on the quarter, the good old George Washington is on the United States quarter. That's worth 25 cents. And the biggest coin, I actually only have one of this, so I was lying about the penny earlier. The $50, which apparently is not really used that much. John F. Kennedy is on the $50, which is just an objectively recent president. He only started serving about 60 years ago. So that's who's on all of the coins. It's much more interesting in America than here in Canada. Canada, it's just the king is on all of our coins. For the bills, I gotta be careful with how I handle the bills, because American money you can rip. And I don't want to rip money. I can't believe this is money. Like, this is paper. Our money's much better. Canadian money's much better. The $1 bill, this is what it's like on the back, and this is what it's like on the front, of course. The good old George Washington is on the $1 bill. On the $5 bill, this is what it's like at the back, which I believe is that the Lincoln Memorial? Probably. I don't know. On the front is, of course, Abraham Lincoln. The $10 bill is what it looks like at the back. It's a little more rusty than the other one. And the front has Alexander Hamilton, who was not a president. This is the back of the $20 bill, and the front has Andrew Jackson, but I believe, if I'm correct in saying this, he's going to be replaced rather soon, so that would be interesting to see a $20 bill without Andrew Jackson. So as I put my money back in this bag, which is definitely the best place to put money, I will tell you now that the $50 bill, which I'm going to edit this later, so it's going to look weird in the moment, but trust me, it's not going to look weird on your screen. $50 bill right here, that's Ulysses Grant. He was a famous Civil War general and also the 18th president. And the $100 bill, somewhere over here, is Benjamin Franklin, who was not president, but he was a very influential person. So now I'm going to go a little bit further into what these guys actually did as president. I'm not going to go super far deep. I don't want to make this a very long video, but yeah. I'll see you in a bit. All right, let's start out with the nickel. Thomas Jefferson is, of course, on the nickel. And he was the third president, very, very controversial human being. But as a president, I would argue that he was mostly beneficial to the United States, especially a young United States. He increased the territory of the United States quite significantly, right? He, with the Louisiana Purchase, that definitely uh, absolutely skyrocketed the nation's land size. It was incredible. But there was the hiccup of Embargo Act, which kind of slowed down the American economy quite significantly. But yeah, for the most part, Thomas Jefferson as a president was decent. As a human being, I don't know. So yeah, Thomas Jefferson, he's on the nickel. The man on the dime is President Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He was the quite influential, I think it's absolutely true, quite influential president who broke Washington's tradition of only 2 terms, but I think he was for the good because he was the president during most of the Great Depression, not the start, but the end of the Great Depression, and of course not all, but most, the vast majority of World War II. He was president during that. He also led the initiative called the March of Dimes, so I think it's very, very fitting that the man of dimes, leader, is now on the dime. The man on the quarter is the very first president of the United States, George Washington. Who else? Of course, he's got to be on American money. He was also a very, very important general during the Revolutionary War. Without him, I don't know if the United States would have won. Probably because of the French. The French was very instrumental. But yeah, Washington, a great, maybe not a great general, but definitely an influential general, especially to the American cause. And yeah, the first president. Like, what else can you say? Then, of course, there is the $50 coin, which is half of a dollar. It's worth 50 cents. And on it is John F. Kennedy. He was a very recent president, and he probably was just put on because, oh, I feel bad for this guy. We're going to make him on the money. Right? I think honestly in 50 years, really, we're not going to really think about John F. Kennedy being that good because he really wasn't that great of a president. He was definitely a good president, especially when you compare to the likes of James Buchanan and Andrew Johnson, right? John F. Kennedy is better than that, much better than that, but I mean, he's definitely not the best president. If you think John F. Kennedy is your favorite president, I think a lot of that is unjustified. I'm gonna be honest. Next up is the $5 bill, and the man on the $5 bill is Abraham Lincoln, of course, also on the penny. 16th president of the United States. Like, a lot of what he does is pretty self-explanatory. He was the he was the president during the Civil War. Like, no other president has been president during a Civil War yet. But he was very influential during that Civil War, even if he did overstep his boundaries a couple of times. Maybe not a couple of times, but like, he did overstep his boundaries quite a bit. But that doesn't mean that he was a bad president. I think a lot of people will say that because one reason or another, but Abraham Lincoln was very, very influential. And a lot of people were really sad about his assassination because, of course, right? He freed the slaves, technically. He'd signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves in the Southern Territory that the Union had captured, which freed actually quite a lot of slaves as they came by. Heavily pushed for the 13th Amendment, even if he technically wasn't president when it passed. He definitely did most of the work. Trust me, Andrew Johnson would not have done that. He would not have pushed as hard as Lincoln did. Yeah, what an instrumental president. Transcontinental Railroad. A lot of people don't really think to care about that, but it was very influential, the Transcontinental Railroad. Next up, of course, is the $10 bill. And on the $10 bill is Alexander Hamilton. He was not a president, but he was just a very instrumental founding father. Like without him as founding father, like he wrote a lot of the Federalist Papers, right? Which kind of convinced the anti-Federalists to not necessarily become Federalists, but to support the ratification of the Constitution, which was what the Federalists were all about. So Alexander Hamilton's heavy push for that definitely helped the United States gain become the Constitution was ratified quicker with Alexander Hamilton is what I wanted to say. So yeah, very instrumental person. And there was also a musical about him, which is probably why you know him. And the man on the $20 bill, Andrew Jackson, he is going to be replaced very soon, but right now, as of when I'm making this video, May 2026, he is still on the $20 bill. Andrew Jackson probably doesn't deserve to be, nor would he have wanted to. Like, that's the funniest part. He wouldn't have even wanted paper money to exist. Like, he dismantled the National Bank. Like, he was not really all about that. I wanted to say positive things about these people and not necessarily negative things. But man, there's just not really many positive things to say about Andrew Jackson. Like, he was very influential. That influence wasn't always positive, though. Next up is the $50 bill. And on the $50 bill is the 18th President of the United States, Ulysses S. Grant. But he probably wouldn't have wanted you to only remember him as the 18th President, because he was a very, like, when I say very, I mean very, very influential Civil War general. He was there at the surrender of Appomattox. He led the Union troops throughout the war, but was the chief general, like the number one guy, like right at the end when everything became important again, at Appomattox. He was very influential to the defeat of the Confederacy and to the win of the Union in the Civil War. Without him, I mean, Meade and Sherman were great, right? But without him, maybe the Confederacy lingers on for a little bit longer. And finally, on the $100 bill is the good old Benjamin Franklin. He's like the GOAT, right? He was the very influential founding father, very old founding father. We get to assume that all of these founding fathers were old. They were so old. Actually, they were all pretty young. Benjamin Franklin was like 70 though when the revolution started, so he wasn't exactly young, but everyone else was actually pretty young. Like, John Adams was only in his 40s when the revolution started. He would have been 41 in 1776, right? Thomas Jefferson was in his 30s. James Madison, who wrote most of the Constitution, was in his 20s, right? It's just really Benjamin Franklin, who was a very instrumental founding father, inventor, like pretty much everything you can think of, this guy did. He had the most dad lore out of anybody on the money. All right, that is going to do it for today. Let me switch the tab over here. So this was episode 4. And this is coming out on June 22nd. Once I upload this and put this onto YouTube, I will only have to make 1, 2, 3, 4 more videos until this is all done. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching to this far. I hope you really enjoyed the series. And yeah, see you.